Hello, everyone. Welcome to Moms in Real Estate's Girl Educate Yourself. I am Kristen Cantrell, and I'm so excited, you guys, to be talking to Marissa Lightsey out of Mexico, Missouri. You might have seen her on Moms in Real Estate before. She is fantastic. And I asked her to come back on Girl Educate Yourself because, you guys, she has so many in escrow all the time. And I'm just like, how do you keep it all together? So I asked if she would share 3 tips on staying on track when you have a ton going on, a lot in escrow. So Marissa, why don't you give us a little background on yourself before you dive into your tips?
Hey, Kristen. So my name is Marissa Lightsey, like she said. I live in a little town called Mexico, Missouri. We have population like 12,000. We've got probably about 30 realtors here in town, so it's pretty competitive. But even despite being in this little town, we still have some really like high volume producers. So I got my license in 2019, and I think like my first full year, I did about 30 transactions, somewhere around there. And this year, from January to this point, I'll be closing number 43 today. So it's been a really busy year.
That is so insane. So just repeat that from January to today, which we're in July. So we're halfway
Yes.
through the year, and she's already at number 47.
43.
Or 43. Oh
Yes.
my gosh. Crazy.
Yeah. So, and it just happened so fast. And you really learn to kind of adapt and just figure out what works for you as an agent and for your clients. It just seemed like there for a couple of weeks, it was like every other day I had a new contract that I was sending over to title. So, it just, I didn't plan for it, but it happened, and I just kind of learned to roll with the punches. But there were definitely some, things I kind of learned along the way that I've put into place that have really helped. So
well, that's great. So we want to hear, what do you do? Tell us your tips so that anybody else out there that has a ton going on, which every market right now, you guys, she's
everybody,
from Missouri, I'm from Gilbert, Arizona, and every girl on Moms in Real Estate will tell you across the United States, it's crazy everywhere.
It's
so
insane.
Tell us your tips.
Yeah, first things first, I guess when I first got my license and I came over here, we have a smaller brokerage. I actually own the Century 21 office here in Mexico. We have 16 agents, and then we have an office manager. And when I first came over, I thought, I'm not going to bug my office manager for anything. I'm going to handle every part of my transaction, start to finish, every document, every signature, I will have my hands on, and I'll make sure. That kind of went out the window whenever I started getting all these transactions. I guess that would be tip number 1 is utilize what your office has to offer you. So my office manager, Mary, is gold. Sometimes there are things that'll just pop into your head like, oh, I need this amendment signed or whatever. And if I can just call or text Mary and say, hey, can you dot loop it to so-and-so? It makes my life so much easier. And that's what she's there for. So really just utilizing what your brokerage has to offer you can help you tremendously.
I love that. And I kind of, it reminds me of when I first became a mom, and I was like, oh, I'm doing this all by myself.
Yeah,
and I remember
no help.
No help. And I remember think about like carrying your baby in with like all the groceries. And I'm like, I got this. And then I remember someone being like, when you get offered help, take it. And so I think like we like to put it all on ourselves for some reason. So yes, I definitely, that is such a great tip.
Yeah. So, that really has helped a lot. That's like number 1. The second is really just putting your head down and getting to work. That is something that the first year of my career, I would have those days where I would just like kind of hang out and watch Netflix and not really, because I wasn't that busy. But when you have that many transactions, you don't have that time. Sure, you could time block it out and do it, but first things first is making sure everything's taken care of. So I really tried to make it a point to like come into the office, shut my door, write out a list of like, here's what I need to tackle today. Check every transaction and make sure everything is, on the up and up. And truthfully, it shouldn't take all day long to do that. Even with 17, you can knock that out in a few hours. And we're lucky enough to have a job like that where then you have then you have the time and you've touched base with everybody and you've made sure everything's okay. But yeah, really just sitting down and actually doing the work instead of just driving around all day or watching TV or, just making sure you're still holding yourself accountable to do your job is
yeah, it is definitely easy when you're self-employed to be like, oh, I could be watching Netflix, but it's so true. You have to be so disciplined and create like habits for yourself,
Yes, absolutely. So then that kind of goes along with my third tip. I have really started to utilize this system called Trello. A lot of people use it different ways. I mean, it's not really necessarily real estate specific, but I've used it to handle each transaction, and I have all the steps throughout the transaction in there, so I go and check them off that way. I also have like all of my buyers, because God forbid a buyer falls through the cracks because I forget about them. So I have like an A list and a back burner list and people who aren't even pre-approved yet. So just making a habit of checking like your transaction management, client management system daily, and just making sure that like, have I touched base with this person in a while, or like, is there something I'm forgetting? Trello is a really good one, and it's not very expensive for like the upgraded. You can use a free version. Once you get to 17 transactions, you kind of have to have the paid version, but it was cheap and it was worth it. And Trello has really saved my life.
Yeah, I've heard of that system from quite a few people. So definitely like that's a good one.
It's amazing. And I mean, it's so flexible. You could use it for really any type of business. It's like a blank canvas, essentially. It's kind of like online Post-its, but you can open up a Post-it and, categorize. It's amazing. So, and then in addition to Trello, I listen to the Hustle Humbly podcast, which is, they're two realtors in like the Baton Rouge, Louisiana market. And they made these email templates, and they're great. They are so good. I think it was like $200, but you get all these templates and you kind of cater them to your own voice and everything. And so those have been gold too, just to make sure that I've said what I needed to say to each client. I have it, I've got the receipts, I've got it in there to check. So email templates and Trello have really saved my life too, as far as, keeping up with as many as I was doing.
Yeah, absolutely. I think that all three of your points were such great advice. And I think that anybody that's running around with, like a chicken with their head cut off can really listen to this and be like, okay, these are like three simple things. I always love the KISS method, like keep it simple, stupid. And I feel like what you're giving us is exactly that. It's nothing complicated.
Nothing at all.
No. But it definitely makes the world of a difference when you have these things in place.
Yes, it absolutely does. And you'll feel so much better. I could only imagine if I didn't have these things to fall back on, how just stressed out and, I would feel, versus like I could be cool as a cucumber with, 20 transactions, as long as I know that I've touched base on everything and I've got help. So.
Yes, absolutely. Well, thank you so much for all of your insight and coming back on Moms in Real Estate. We just love having you on.
Thank you so much.
Yep, absolutely. Thank you guys so much.